Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Behm, this year's winner of MasterChef.
How is everyone? Good. So today I'm going to be, how many of you guys actually watched the show? Okay, fantastic. How many of you guys actually watched me beat Christian? Okay, I like this crowd. How many of you guys wanted Christian to win? Good answer. Oh, that guy's got to go. No. Raise your hand again so everybody can see you. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Well, today I'm going to make for you the infamous egg ravioli dish. So I'll just walk you through kind of, I've already made my pasta. Anybody here make pasta on their own? No? Not many, not many. Well, I'm going to give you a little secret. Neither did I till I went to MasterChef. And I learned. I read and I learned. And that's how I came up with all of my dishes. So just to show you how, everybody probably has one of these. Anybody just get married recently? Know somebody just got married? This thing was on their list. You can probably get one on Craigslist for $250. So I highly, highly recommend that you guys pick one up. It's actually a Cuisinart. And this is the machine that helps you make fantastic pasta. So I've already had my pasta dough done. So the biggest thing you always want to make sure, you always have what's called bench flour. Bench flour makes sure that your pasta dough doesn't stick to your hand. And I can talk to you guys a little bit more about how the recipe works out, but I'm a little short here. Make sure we're on the right setting. And I'm just going to show you a couple times through. Oh. Power. Let's see. There she is. All right. And remember, guys, and I always tell people this, I'm an amateur cook. I'm just like every single one of you guys that are sitting out here in the audience today. I've learned everything through trial and error. Everything. So if you mess up in the kitchen, don't be scared to go back and try it again. How many of you guys watched the first episode where I made my ravioli? What was the thing that you're not supposed to put in ravioli? It's a lie. You just don't put that much. Just an FYI, anybody out there. So what I did was I actually ran my pasta through and I triple folded it back over. And what I'm doing is just setting this on one, letting the pasta maker do its own thing. And the trick to making a really good ravioli is to making the dough as thin as possible without having it break. So I'm just going to show you how easy this is. I mean, making homemade pasta is like nothing else. And you just go down. I'll just show you one more turn. Now this is set on 2, so you just work your way down. So this does require a little bit of patience. And you can see it's growing as it goes. Just cut it in half and keep starting again from the beginning. So that kind of shows you how to make a nice, you can make tagliatelle out of this, you can make linguine out of this, you can do raviolis out of this. This pasta is a multi-purpose. It's what you make it. And the attachments actually change so you can make it into different types of spaghettis. So we're just going to set that there. So does anybody have any questions for me about the show? Out there? Anybody want to know anything about Gordon? That's always the first question I always get asked. And you know what? Chef Ramsay is one of the most unbelievable people I'll ever meet. Think about this. If you were in your job, you go to work every day and you're the top of what you do, and all of a sudden these amateurs come in and start doing your job that think they know everything, or even, and I'm just going to rough dice all of these. He was a little upset a few times, but for the most part he was tough on us because he wanted us to learn. And that's what he thinks about every single person on the show, both on Hell's Kitchen and on our show. Just going to take these off. Anybody else have any other questions? The other two judges? The question was, what did I think about the other two judges? I was more scared when I went into my audition to meet Joe Bastianich. If anybody's watched Lydia, on Cooking with Lydia, she's terrifying, and she can cook. So meeting Joe was definitely who I wanted to impress. And I have to say, my first meeting with him didn't go so well. He didn't really like me. He thought I was a realtor that just could pull wool over his eyes. And I will tell you, when I finally was handed the check and the $250,000 and the title, first thing he said to me was, I was wrong. It was nice to hear. You don't hear that from Joe Bastianich all too much. All right. So I'm just dicing up a couple different of our fabulous mushrooms. I'm keeping some of them big, a couple different kinds, because we're going to use that as a dam. So we're going to throw these in our pot. I'm going to cook them over medium-high heat. I'm going to throw a little bit of butter in there. Anybody else have any other questions that they might have? The only thing they edited out that I thought was very interesting is when Joe tasted my risotto, and he said it was good enough to serve at his restaurant. And anyone out there that's made risotto knows that's a huge compliment. But for the most part, they kept all of us true to who we were, every single person. Ben Starr is actually that way there, and he is that way off the camera. He is probably one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. So, anybody else have any questions? This was all our own research. On the show, we did have a library. We would go, we'd have to be ready at 7 in the morning, and we would not leave until sometimes 11 o'clock at night after doing all of our interviews and after cooking and after being yelled at. It was pretty intense. But I spent most of my time in the library. So I read, and it was kind of like studying for a final. You didn't know what you were studying, but you just knew the whole book was in there. So that's pretty much how I learned all of my stuff. Anybody else have another question? Oh, right here, and then I'll come right back to you. I do. I actually just spent 4 days with Tracy and Adrian. Adrian, everyone always asks, were you that good of friends with Adrian? Absolutely. He's one of the nicest gentlemen you'll ever meet in your entire life. True competitor, true lover of food. It was definitely awesome to cook against him. So I do talk to every single one of them, with 2 exceptions. Your question back there. Well, the ironically funny thing is that Christian created his own fate. He got the chance to pick either veal or mushrooms. And I had to kind of play a game to kind of keep myself from not smiling, because as everybody knows, I grew up just outside of Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, and I grew up with mushrooms. So that's what I was actually hoping for. If he would have given me the veal, I would have beat him anyway, but he needed to go home. Any other questions you guys have? In the back. Any plans for opening up a restaurant? Great question. Actually, what I'm doing right now, while I was in LA, I'm actually trying to do a cooking show. So all of you get on my Twitter page. Make sure you like it. Make sure you keep asking when you're going to open a restaurant, when you're going to open or have your own cookbook, and when you're going to have your own television show. But that is definitely one of the holy trinity that I'm working on. But that will be the last of it, because I believe firmly that I want to show amateur cooks, just like every single one of you that are sitting in this chair, you can cook like this too, because I literally on a whim sent my application in. That's how I ended up on the show. So don't be afraid. My whole thing is cook fearlessly and love what you cook, and it will absolutely shine through. Those of you who watch the show, the dish that I'm making right now, this egg ravioli, I had 1 egg left. I changed with 20 minutes left of what I was going to do. I was actually just going to make kind of a pappardelle pasta. I thought, that's not going to be quite right. We need something to kind of step up the game a little bit. So with 20 minutes left, 1 egg, I decided I was going to change it up. Crazy, huh? But it came out in my favor, so I was very excited about it. Anybody else have any other questions?
What was your least favorite
My least favorite challenge, I would probably say, just so you know what I'm doing up here, I'm actually making a bechamel sauce. So it's equal parts butter, equal parts flour. As soon as I find my flour, here we go. The hardest challenge, or the least liked challenge, I would probably have to say was the one at the LA Times building. Only because a lot of us had never seen an inside of a commercial kitchen before. So that was definitely extremely challenging to come up with 5 dishes that they would enjoy and that we could pull off in less than 2 hours. We only had 2 hours prep for that particular challenge. Any other questions, guys? Pardon? Did we have a trained chef? Joe. Is Joe a trained? Oh, no, Joe is not. Joe is a restaurateur. He is taught from his mother, I'm sure. But he loves great food, and he is actually a fantastic cook. He actually has cooked for us, so it was nice. Very nice to watch him. So, any other questions? My absolute favorite thing to cook? Yeah. Who said that? That's a good answer. Yes. Yes. My favorite thing to cook, actually, funny enough, is lamb chops, which is a dish I almost went home on. I cook them all the time. And Graham Elliott, who all of you guys who have watched know, he's a pretty intense, intimidating guy. And I figured when he comes up to you and asks, are you going to be utilizing the rack? You should probably put it in the oven. Well, I had 6 minutes left, and everyone who watched knows what happens. I got it thrown at me because it wasn't cooked. Just an FYI, you cannot cook lamb in 3 minutes or less. You can do lamb chops, lollipops, but don't cook them whole because it will not turn out well for you. I saw a hand back that way somewhere. Any other questions you guys have? Days off. What are those? We cooked for 2 months straight. I was there for 2 months. We had 1 day off, and the only reason that we actually had that day off was so we could do our photo shoots. We would be downstairs in the morning at 7 a.m., and we would not leave sometimes till 11 o'clock. So they were very long days, hence why I think that the cast is so close, because we spent so much time together. And you really can't describe that intensity to someone else who's never experienced that in their life. So no days off, cooked every day, and loved every second of it, every single second. Another question? Well, my friend owned a wine bar. She's here today. And she knows that I love champagne. I knew as soon as I got home, I was never going to hear the end of it. I play in a boys' soccer team. First thing they said to me, what in the blank were you thinking? And I came there to cook. I came there to win. I was not going home. So if it took me having to cook my way in the top 10, which I wanted to prove that I deserved to be there. So I don't regret it. I just merely would have probably cooked my egg a little bit longer in the challenge so I didn't get yelled at. So what I'm doing now, I actually made all my pasta beforehand because it does take a little bit of time and patience to roll out your pasta. So can you see how thin that is, guys? You can almost basically see through it. So that's what you're looking for when you're making this ravioli. So we're putting a little bit of bechamel in the middle. And then you're going to create a dam with these mushrooms because what needs to happen is the egg needs to stay in the middle. Has anybody ever had this dish before anywhere? At a restaurant or seen it before, heard of it before? Anybody? Oh, all the way in the back there. So the easiest thing to do, when you crack your eggs, how many of you guys crack your eggs on the side of a pan or on the side of the table? Easiest thing to do is take your egg, crack it flat. One thing I learned at MasterChef. So you're going to separate out your egg. Gently, and I definitely stress gently, place it in the middle, so you don't want to lose it. And I'm going to use one of these larger pieces. Anybody else have any other questions out there? Tracy has actually decided that she is going to also go into catering like myself. And she is going to be taking her classes, but she is holding off for a little while until she gets her catering company kind of situated in where she wants it to be. So I saw a hand over there. Oh. Well, I was very fortunate. One of the challenges that I had won, it was when Whitney Miller had returned. And those of you who watched it, anybody remember what Chef Ramsay said when she came out? Anybody remember that? Chef asked if there was anybody out there who wanted to be crowned the next Master Chef. And they edited this out, the person who asked what I wanted edited in. They edited out the fact that I said, I need a new crown. Those of you who don't know me, I was a former Miss Delaware USA. So Whitney and I have a kind of, I guess, a little weird special bond because she won last year. And I got to actually sit down with Whitney while she was here at QVC for her cookbook. So I had the distinct pleasure of eating with her and her family. Now this might not work out so well because I think I just pierced the top of the pasta, but that's okay, we'll make it work. I got to meet her and her family, which was absolutely unbelievable. Her family are probably one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. So, we're just doing a little repair job here. You don't want any of the filling popping out. We got a little close here on the edges. So just doing a little repair job, which you can always do. And again, don't be afraid to mess up. You got plenty of more pasta. How many of you guys out there like to experiment with your food? Anybody? Yeah? Definitely do it. You should absolutely always try it. I'm just delicately sealing up the outside here, so that way we're not going to get anything that runs. I did pierce the egg a little bit on this one, so we'll do another one. So into the pasta water for about 4 minutes. This pasta is pretty thin. Just going to kind of let that go. I'm going to thin out my bechamel a little bit, so that way we can use it actually as a sauce too. Any other questions anybody has? We never knew what we were going to cook. There were days we didn't even know where we were going to cook. We were told we were going to cook off-site. The bike challenge was one of those challenges, the biker challenge. We never knew what we were going to be doing. We just got up in the morning, said a sweet prayer that we'd make it through the day alive, and then cook for whoever the challenge was for. So, anybody have any other questions? We had a few moments with him. They tried to keep the judges kind of separated from us as much as possible, just so there was no favoritism or anything like that. And I thought, oh, I know where it is. Let me grab another bowl here. Yeah, they kind of try to keep us separated as much as possible from the rest of the judges. And the reason for that, they didn't want any favoritism. So they kind of try to keep us separated. So as you can see, the egg actually, for those of you who can see this, the egg actually did kind of pop through the top, and that was my fault because I poked the knife. So we'll try another one real quick, but put our egg in the bottom. And these dishes, guys, these are the best dishes you can absolutely invest in. They're fantastic because you can use them both as a regular dish like this, or you can use them as a soup bowl. You can use them for morning cereal. It's perfect for this because the egg is supposed to ooze out over top of everything. Does anybody know the most important thing that you want to make sure that you have when you're in the kitchen? Anybody know the most important thing? What? Fire extinguisher? Mental note, where do you live? I'm not coming to your house. Everybody, take a good look at this guy if you're friends with him. Anybody else? These are your two. Good set of knives, absolutely. These are mine, hammer style. Towel, salt and pepper. Salt and pepper. You always want to make sure you have salt and pepper. And if you watch any chef, and I'm sure Chef Garces will agree with this, you want to make sure that you taste everything while you are making it. And the reason for that is because how are you going to know if it's good? You can make it 100 times, but if you miss one step, you're done, right? So this needs a little bit more salt. Over the shoulder for good luck. And how many of you guys like Parmesan cheese? Amen. So do I. This is what takes this dish to the next level. A little bit of shredded Parmesan over the top of it. Actually, today I'm using Locatelli. Same thing. So we're going to come back down here. Let me rinse off my hands. And I always believe that you eat with your eyes first. So you want to make sure the dish looks as pretty as possible before it ever reaches anybody. And that was one of the big things that I wanted to emphasize, that yes, I could cook, but I could also make it look pretty. So this is the dish that sent Christian home. How does that look? Pretty good. Let's see how we did. Now, the nerve-wracking thing, somebody had asked me what the judges were like. When Joe Bastianich is standing over your plate with a fork and knife, and Graham Elliott standing there, who's a pretty massive guy, and Chef is getting ready to cut your ravioli, I can tell you this, it's one of the most intense moments I've ever had in my entire life. So let's see how we did here. Can everybody see that? Let me just show you. See how the egg just oozes through? And I always tell people, don't be afraid to use, it's not a raw egg. You're cooking it a little bit. How many of you guys eat Eggs Benedict every day? Or when you're out, because nobody wants to learn how to cook Eggs Benedict, right? It's the same concept, you guys. Mix it up, let the egg become the sauce. I'm just going to cut this up. I'm going to make y'all jealous, and I'm going to actually try a piece, see what it tastes like. So what kind of cookbooks, I'm going to ask you guys, what kind of cookbooks do you guys think you want to see? What kind of recipes in a cookbook? Oh my God. It's all mine. See you later. It was nice seeing you. No. You guys can definitely come up and try it. What kind of recipes do you guys think you might want to see? Mushrooms? Steak? Potatoes? The grill? Who said the grill? Grill? Pastry? Pastries? Italian food. Very nice, very nice. Well, that's my dish, guys, and I'd highly encourage you to always use mushrooms in everything. Experiment, try everything. Use different things that you maybe necessarily wouldn't use. Spices can be pretty inexpensive. You can actually buy them in small bulk, or small size instead of bulk. So I definitely encourage you all to try and taste and to do different things with your pastas and with anything else you want to cook. So if you have any other questions, shout them out. Otherwise, we're done. If anybody wants to come try it, they can.
Try not to do
Okay.